Hello, light beams. Welcome to the Brittany Renee experience. Today, I am so humbled and grateful to have a fellow Brittany. We've got Brittany Bento on the show today. And this is a also fellow psychic intuitive channel. She is an incredible tarot reader. She does all of the things. She's a spiritual teacher. So without further ado, Brittany, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for being here.
Oh my goodness. Hi, Brittany. It's so funny calling somebody else Brittany. That was like the first thing I said. I was like, I love that we have the same name and we also spell it the same. But that aside, I'm really excited to be here. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. You have me like blushing over here.
Yes, we love that. We give all of the praise over here.
Aw.
So, we were just chit-chatting before we hit record today on what wants to come through. And one of my favorite things in this podcast is being able to lean in. Like, there is always a reason, which we won't even get into the details of all of the things that brought Brittany and I here today. But there's always a reason that you meet people. There's always a reason that things come together and click on the days that they do. And so what just came through, and Brittany also just for confirmation pulled some cards, and I really want to lean into this topic. So I'm actually going to let you start and share what came up, what's alive for you right now, because I think on so many levels, for spiritual leaders, for people in their awakening, for people that are just wanting to be more authentic and embodied in their truth, like what we're about to get into, y'all, get ready because this episode is going to be fire.
I'm excited. Um, yeah, so I came into this super open-minded, no clue what we were going to be talking about. I mean, I had guests over, so I was literally like, they left late last night, and I was like, oh my gosh, I have a podcast the next morning. So yeah, this is not pre-planned at all. But as we were talking, the devil kept coming to my mind's eye, the devil in tarot. And some of you might be like, the devil, what the heck? Like, what are you guys going to be talking about today? And the devil is indicative of the ego. And I pulled some cards for confirmation and the high priestess. For those who are, familiar with tarot, you might want to know. We have the high priestess, the death card, the devil came out, and the three of pentacles. So I was like, yep, this is definitely confirmation. We're definitely talking about the ego today. And the ego is a part of each and every one of us. It is not a bad thing. It is quite literally necessary for this human experience. You wouldn't be who you are without it. With that said, the devil, the ego, it has such a negative connotation, and people are afraid to really look at it, or they're afraid to reflect on themselves to the depths that they should, because they don't want to associate with the negativity that's tied to it. But without really doing that deep reflection, you're going to be unaware of how you are in your ego. And I know, like, I'll give you personal examples. I was in my ego for a while without even realizing it. God and the devil both reside within you, and you have the decision every day to choose. And unfortunately, most light workers, this is a channeled message that I got, and I'm not trying to freak people out. Most light workers are still in the dark. They still are ruled by the ego without even realizing it. And I was one of them. I was one of them until more recently. So I'm open to talk about it today because Earth is going through shift right now. I don't know if you talk about this on the channel, but with,
Oh,
how
yeah.
the vibration is quite literally rising. We need light workers truly and authentically coming from the heart space. But if you are unaware of your wounds, if you are unaware of the ego, there's not much you can do about it. First comes being aware. And how do you do that is through reflection and being very honest. The devil is not scary. He's very charming. He can feel very safe. So, yeah, I don't know if I kind of went off there a little
Oh
bit, but
no, so much goodness. No, we do. We talk a lot. My last episode, we were just talking about the ascension arc that we're in and just how we are climbing even higher to this frequency that the veil that we've all known, right? It's like
Mhm.
very quickly diminishing. And for many on the leading edge, it's gone. Like there is no,
Yeah, sorry. And something I need to say, I'm getting full body chills like as this is coming through because again, this happened to me. As we go through this, I'm going to be completely honest, like the ascension arc. I'm not 100% familiar with what that means exactly, but I know the veil's thinning and we are connecting, more than we ever have before because our frequency quite literally is rising. With
Yes.
that said, as we go through our awakening, if we are not doing the healing work necessary, your ego is going to grow as big as your spiritual awakening, if that makes sense. The more you awaken, if you're not doing the genuine healing work alongside it, your ego's going to grow. And that is dangerous. That is fucking dangerous. Excuse my language. It happened to me. And I know I needed to go through it and I needed to fully experience it so that I could understand, so that I could then teach, because this is happening to many of us light workers and that needs to shift.
Mm-hmm. And so I want to clarify ascension arc, for everybody, even who's listening, because I do use that term often on here. So, I actually found another creator who was talking about the frequency in the planet and how everything is moving. And he was like, it's not actually just this rise. He's like, it is an arc. And the reason why it's arcing is because we have people that are
Mm.
actually in alignment with the rising. And we have people who are exactly what you're talking about. Their ego is rising just as their
Ah,
spirituality.
full body chills.
Yes. And the thing is, I have seen this personally I've had to go through my own ego death with my business.
Multiple,
Oh,
like
yeah.
multiple.
Oh, yeah. All the time. And I'm always checking it. I am always checking it. And I do see with so many creators and so many leaders and teachers, and how many of us are here to help people. If I ever meet someone and they know everything, they're like, oh, I've got it understood. I don't need to go through the death cycle anymore. I'm like, I step back because I'm like, there is such a potency of people who actually are doing the work of understanding that every up level also requires a death. And like, I think when you lock into, you're going to shed all sorts of things at every next space,
Mm.
there comes this deep understanding, right? And like, I have had people that I have worked with, worked for, I have had partners that are constantly reflecting to me where the success, quote unquote, is also so tied for so many people to this
Yeah.
ego spiritual bypass, all love and light. I am perfect. Look at me. And I'm just like, I'm actually more repelled and disgusted by that now than ever.
Mm.
Because I'm like, no.
Yeah, and I hear that. I really do. And the ego though is goes even deeper. It really roots back to wounds that come from childhood, wounds that come from your teenage years. And when people are in their ego, it's a protection mechanism.
Right.
And the way people talk about it in the spiritual community, because it can look really ugly. When a person's really in their ego, you feel it. And it can look really ugly. But because of that, people in the spiritual community, we talk about it like it's such a negative thing, like, ugh, like this, that. And because of that jargon, though, people don't want to associate with that. Just because you have an ego, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. I had a really big ego at one point. Looking back, like I was like, holy shit. But I was still genuinely a good person and I still wanted to do good. So it's like it's in the awareness. It's not taking it personally. It's not taking it personally, but it's being able to look and reflect and sit with that. And you're right, like we are bugs here. Like when I tell you we are bugs here, we know nothing. We
Mhm.
know nothing. We don't know what we don't know. So I know that like a part of my spiritual journey, I was starting to feel, I guess, superior. I was starting to feel a little better than because I was awakening and I knew a lot of things that other people didn't know. So naturally I started feeling this. And to be honest, I was aware of it, but I didn't like it because I knew it wasn't right. So I was like, what the fuck? I was like, okay, I'm feeling this way. And I was honest with myself. I was honest with myself. And even though, like, it's like I could have lied. I could have lied, no, I don't feel that way. And I didn't go talking about this with people. You know what I'm saying? Like this was an internal thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to sit with this. And I asked for help. It was the honest truth. I started feeling that way. And I'm like, Spirit, I'm like, help me. I can't help how I'm feeling, but I'm feeling this way for a reason. Help me figure out why I'm feeling this way. Help me get rid of this because I don't want to be here. And I ask for help every day because I genuinely want to be coming from the heart space. I want to be coming from a place of love. I want to be coming from a place of compassion and kindness, but I am human. I have an ego. And if you don't ask for help, they can't help. They will help when you ask for help. So I asked for help. And let me tell you, they squashed it. They squashed that ego for me. And I still ask for help. I literally just had another ego death, literally like 2 days on the full moon, like the night of the full moon, which was
Mm.
what, like a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And oh, I was gonna say something else about yeah, I'm losing it now. It'll come back, but it's truly the awareness and it's not and oh yeah, and it's having compassion for other people. Like I see other people in their ego right now and I'm like, "Oh, honey, like who hurt you like why like what is this need like where is this need coming from because it's a need for external validation that stems from a place of hurt. We need to really start looking at it differently instead of oh it's really ugly, oh it's this it's that, because again people won't reflect because they don't want to associate with that, because yes you're a good person, and when you're a good person it's like not wanting to associate with the negativity, but that right there is the ego, right? Not wanting to be honest. So I really think just like talking about it, we need to talk about it differently so that people really do start to connect, because it's nothing to be ashamed of. Like
Right.
I could give you some examples after, but like and with unhealed wounds, like that's where entities can form, because we create entities and these demons within ourselves, which we could talk about a little bit. Like I had an entity that I created within myself back in 2013 from a wound, and I realized this later. I got rid of it because I became aware. um but these things we create within ourselves, the ego, it's created from the ego, and it's not created from a place of love. It's not created from a place of love. So even though it's there to protect you, because it was created from the ego and not of love, it's gonna protect you in more of an ugly way. But because it was something you created from within you, you're not gonna realize it's not actually you, if that makes sense. I don't know if I explained that very
Oh,
well.
yeah, you did. And it makes total sense. And, I want to clarify too, what I was speaking about in the repelling. So I completely agree and I'm on the same track with, first of all, we're human. We are in a human experience. We cannot fully kill the ego, I don't think. I mean, I guess some people believe they have, and that's their experience. And I also believe the ego is not a negative thing. Like it is a protector and it is a guide. It is a compass when you start to understand it, that it will show you where there are pieces of you that need to be seen, where there is trigger still, where there are wounds, right? So I think actually the ego is a beautiful, beautiful
Mhm.
tool when you start to
Mhm.
really understand it.
Mhm.
What is repelling to me and what I have seen in my own space, which has, I think, in itself been my own kind of reflective ego check, is that I've been around very high level spiritual entrepreneurs. I've worked with them, for them. I have
Mhm.
been around partners who are multimillionaires, right? And in this realm of power here on this planet.
Yeah.
Now, both of those reflections for me were interesting because financially and what looks like from the outside is so successful
Mhm.
and spiritual, right? When you get
Yeah.
actually into the depths of it,
Mhm.
I'm a projector. I'm an illuminator. I am very aware that just my presence and what
Mhm.
I question and bring forth and like illuminated people can be really uncomfortable.
Good.
And right. And
Good.
with these specific relationships that I had, they had created these entities
Mhm.
that they were
Mhm.
unwilling to
Mhm.
cease,
Yes, unaware.
unwilling. And when I would bring it up, then I'm
Mhm.
crazy. And
Yes.
I don't understand because my level of quote success in this material realm didn't match theirs. And that meant they've got it figured out.
Yeah.
So the repelling to me is not Like I have so much loads and baskets of compassion for people to sit with them in when they want to be like,
Yeah.
I'm ready. I'm ready to see the wounds. I'm ready to see the things and to share my own experience. However, if we are sitting on a pedestal and
Yeah.
we are only wanting what
Hmm.
feels really good in the
Yeah.
spirituality and the consciousness and the growth and unwilling to even
Mhm.
have this conversation,
Yeah.
I
I
can't operate in those spaces.
No, I hear you, and I just want to validate that. I wasn't trying to like, I wasn't trying to say you shouldn't
Oh,
talk
no, no,
about
no,
it
no.
that way because you're right. The ego is really ugly and it can be dangerous, especially when you've got money, when you have power, this and that. And I truly like take this work very seriously.
Mhm.
Like it is an honor. It is an honor to be serving God, to be
Mhm.
serving the light. And I'm getting emotional. It's like
Yeah.
it's an honor and I take that very seriously, which is why I ask for help because I am aware I am human. And I'm
Mhm.
sure that there are parts of my ego that they are still yet to bring to the surface. And I know that they bring things to the surface in due time as you integrate. There was a
Exactly.
huge ego death for me. I've actually had like so many, like so many over the last 2 years, which is good. But it's like what I'll notice is I'll have an ego death and I'm like, okay, shit, now it's time for the integration. And it's
Mhm.
actually doing the integration because another thing I want to talk about too, because plant medicine, for example, was huge in my awakening. But I know a lot of people do plant medicine and, not saying you have to do plant medicine because you don't, but, with plant medicine, a lot of people do it. They come to these realizations and they don't do the integration afterwards. The integration is necessary. You learn the lesson, you do the integration, then you're ready for the next layer to be shed. And it's a continuous layer. It's a never ending journey. And it's not easy. It's not easy. This is why we're here. If you feel as though you're a light worker, that is the spiritual warfare. That is the spiritual warfare. It's the internal work, and that's hard. It's not easy, but you have to be honest with yourself. And, anyways, going back to what you were saying before, it is really ugly. Like, it is ugly and it's a turn off. And I hear you. Like, you have to have, and this is where boundaries come into play. Like, have compassion, but have boundaries. Protect yourself, protect your space, know who you're in alignment with and who you're not, and trust that. Yeah.
And I think also it's so important for people, and I speak a lot on this channel to those who are on the awakening path. It's for me, I know boundaries was a huge thing. And I mean, I have stayed in places and relationships and jobs far longer than I needed to in the past because I was a people pleaser and I wanted everybody to like me and I wanted, all of these things. And then I realized with these boundaries, it's created so much more sacredness within myself, within my experience, within my process. And so, for those of you who are listening, if you are someone who is still standing in, people pleasing or trying to change everybody around you, that's another piece. I think when we come into this, I know I'm a light worker. I know I'm here to serve. I know I'm here to teach. Of course, the first people you try to move and change are those closest to you, right? Like we want everybody to wake up. We don't want anyone to get left behind. And, everybody's on their path and we have to honor the free will piece that comes into this. And, the other piece too is I think that the integrity in this business, I'm so glad that you hit on that because authenticity and integrity are my checks consistently in business because I'm like, it is an honor and it is a huge responsibility to hold. I'm going to say this, and it does, of course, sound egoic, but it's like to hold the power of people looking to you, right?
No, yes. It's
And
not, sorry.
trusting
Yes.
you.
Yes.
It's like the Spider-Man quote, like with great power comes great responsibility.
Yes. Yes.
And I do not take that lightly. And I am so vulnerable. Like anyone who is on any of my channels, like when I was going through the separation from my last relationship, it broke me. Like when I say I went through a level of grief that I have never touched, and that's a lot speaking from what I've been through,
Mm.
I didn't know when I was going to come out of that.
Oh,
And I'm like, at the same time, serving so many people, holding so many people. And I was so vulnerable with everybody in my community and my membership, in my groups. I was in tears on calls, and I'm like, I'm still here and showing up, but I just want you guys to know, like, I am messy right now, and I'm going to be the permission slip as an entrepreneur
It's
to be
beautiful.
messy. Thank
It's
you.
beautiful to be messy,
It
to
is.
be
And it's like,
vulnerable.
but it is our responsibility to be vulnerable, like to have these conversations where we're like, yeah, that was me. I get it. I've been there. I've walked that fire. Because everyone listening needs to know they're not crazy. We all, even those of us who hold the, followings that we do, it's important to know you have to have integrity in this business. You have to understand the responsibility in this business, because this is a business at the end of the day, that we are leading people in these spaces of remembering who they are, coming into their mission, coming into their path, coming into their authenticity. So I'm so grateful, and like, thank you for being this like fellow, like, soul sister who is also like deeply in the integrity piece with this, because I see that in you. It's why when I saw you online, I was like, this one, I need
Oh,
her. I need her here.
no, I appreciate that. And I will say it's been hard. Like I've come out online and I have a video. I was like, I was wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like I have no shame in being like I was wrong about this or that, because it is a part of the journey. It's a part of the experience. And there's no shame. There's no shame in being wrong. There's no shame in being like, holy fuck. I was in my ego, at that time, because that's we all have it, and it's again in that awareness. And I wanted to touch on something you were saying, when we're awakening, it's so natural to want to help everyone else. And when you realize like, oh my gosh, I'm here to serve, I'm here to do this, we really want to help everyone else around us, and that's beautiful. With that said, it's really focusing on you. It's focusing on you and your growth and leading by example. Lead by example, because no, people might not understand you. And do you know what? That's okay. Focus on yourself, because the more work that you do internally, and this is, what I was saying before, this is a spiritual warfare. The more work you do on yourself, focusing in on you, you are raising your frequency, you are raising your vibration, and in turn, you are helping the collective consciousness. That's exactly what you came here to do. So don't focus that externally. Continue focusing that on that internally, while continuing to pursue your passions with whatever that may be. Some light workers, for example, all they're supposed to do is be in a loving relationship, have a family, raise the kids in the light, and they're doing what they came here to do. Not all light workers are supposed to go out and really do this work. It doesn't matter. Every single person, every light worker, every, whatever you resonate with. I'm not a fan of labels, but, I'm using the terms because I feel like the human language doesn't have, enough words to
Yes.
encompass all of it. I'm not a fan of the labels, but for lack of better words, it's all equally as important, and it doesn't matter. So it's like, stop comparing yourself, really focus inward, and stop trying to convince other people. Just pursue your passion. So for me, for example, I started pursuing tarot online genuinely because it was like it was my spiritual outlet. Like, nobody knew me on TikTok. So it's when I was like, okay, nobody can judge me. And then, it came to a point where I'm like, shit, I can't hide it. I can't hide it anymore. But I had no idea it was going to lead me here. I was just working on me. I was working on Brittany. I was working on the self-love, like the true self-love journey, the journey of peeling off, because coming home to self and remembering who you are, it's not even remembering well, it is remembering who you are, but it's peeling off layers of who you thought you were until you are left with who you are. It's not outwardly trying to discover it, if that makes sense. Anyways, my point with that is it's easy, and it's not a bad thing, because I get it. Like, we want to help others. We want everyone else to understand what we understand. But like you said, Brittany, they're on their own path, and their path might look different. Like, I know for me, I'm supposed to dive into spirituality 200% so that other people feel comfortable diving into it 10%. And that's all they need to dive into it. That's okay. But it's leading by example. Like, I know my family, they thought I was raised very, very Catholic. My parents had a really hard time especially my mom, when I started getting into this stuff. And I remember coming home, I had a couple ayahuasca ceremonies in October that changed my fucking life. like truly changed my life. And Mother Aya told me, you need to go home now, honey. Because they had me on an Airbnb journey. And they were like, honey, you need to go home. And I'm 30. Okay. I turned 30 in October. Going back home to stay with my parents, like that was a huge, huge pride thing for me. Like I didn't want to go back home, especially because like growing up with my family, it's like if they did something for me, I'd owe them something back. And anyways, there was a lot to heal there. And they were like, you need to go back home. You need to stay with your parents and you need to focus on family right now. You need to focus on family. They had me not working for a few months. Like I was not working, I was not making any money at all. I was going in debt, but I trusted because they needed me to fully put my attention onto me. And I was sharing my journey through the time as I was guided to, but I wasn't really making money. Like even though, TikTok, whatever, people see, oh, they have so many followers, this or that, but I don't make money off TikTok. I'm from Canada. We don't have creators fund. Like I don't actually make much money online at all. So I was trusting spirit and I went home. I put my pride aside. I lived with my family for 3 months and I'm so grateful that I did. So much healing happened and, my life changed. I have my own apartment now again, 3 months later. I'm kind of losing my train of thought of where I was going with this, but it's trusting and not questioning and they'll have your back like at the end of this. I feel
Mhm.
like I was going somewhere else, but anyways, it'll come back if it needs to. I'm like that sometimes. I'm like channeling or saying whatever, and then I'm like, wait, what? Where is this going?
Like what trail were we on? No, and there's so much about the trust and I love that we're kind of flowing into this space. So, I have a very similar story, of course, of when I was really diving into my spirituality. I had just become a mom and I was finally like, you know what? I'm going to just lean in. Like I had been a coach, I was a professional makeup artist for over a decade.
That's why your makeup's so beautiful. Sorry.
Thank you.
Side note, I'm like, damn, she knows how to do her makeup. I do not. I like bronzer all over my face with a
You're
little bit of mascara. I'm like, okay, we're good.
you are stunning. But yeah, so makeup artistry, and I taught makeup. I've always been a teacher, like just from the get-go. I've always
Same.
been the coach, I've always been the teacher. And after I was a mom, I'm like, well, I need to do something that I can do at home because the kind of mother that I want to be is not throwing my kid in, some after care, before care because I've got to travel or whatever. And again, no judgment to any mother who chooses that. That just wasn't my path.
Mhm.
And so for me, I was like, I'm going to lean into coaching. Maybe I'm going to do online sales of makeup. I tried that whole thing. And then it was like everything in me was like, you need to lean into that spiritual practice. I'm American Indian. So we are like Assiniboine Indian out of Montana. I'm
Oh,
like
chills.
chief lineage. So my mom has been telling me forever, you have gifts.
Mm.
And listeners on this podcast,
Beautiful.
yes, listeners on the podcast who have been here, you've heard me tell this story a million times over. I thought my mom was just crazy. And it was just like everything kept coming through of my dreams were coming true. And like just all of these things. I'm like, I can't ignore this anymore. And so when I leaned into really my authentic like purpose here, I'm like, makeup's been great. I love to make people feel good, but now I'm a mom and I want to show up in a certain way there. I'm going to start to study spirituality more, like the esotericism. I'm going to really get into like, what are my gifts? Right. And I opened up, and that is where for me, I started asking for help. Like, what do I need to lean into this? And
Beautiful.
I knew that at the time, my son's father and I were like, I actually knew this way before this, but it came to the breaking point that it was like, you can't be in this anymore. Multitudes of reasons. So when I stepped out of that, I was like, well, here I am now, single mom, little baby, no idea really what I'm doing with work. And so I moved back in with my mom. And I was 27,
Mm.
kind of got,
Wow.
back on my feet a little bit. I had met a new partner very quickly, and that kind of came out of the blue. And through that partnership, I met spiritual teachers, mentors. I got certified and like everything just like started flowing once I just leaned in, right? but it was that trust fall. So I think, there's just so much to say in resonance for people here. Like, if you're like, this doesn't make sense and I don't see the why and I don't see what's going to happen afterwards, like, good. This is
Yeah.
trust. Like, you are
Yeah.
trusting, you're flexing that muscle that has to be there for the next steps.
Yeah, and that's where you want to be. Like genuinely, you want to get comfortable with being at a place where you don't know what's next because it's the ego, even though it's, you
Yes.
know what I mean? It doesn't, that's see, that's not an ugly part. Well, depends how you look at it. It's not an ugly part of the ego, right? It's there to protect you. You want to know what's next. Okay, where does this stem from? Why do I need to know what's next? When I was in childhood, did I need to know what's next? Otherwise, things weren't taken care of or whatever it may be. But you want to
Yes.
get to a place where you're okay with not knowing, like especially when I was on my Airbnb journey, like genuinely from week to week I didn't know what was going to happen, but I just listened and I trusted, and it takes you on a very beautiful journey. But I do want to say too, like excuse me, it could be really hard to trust when you're in it. Like I was a high school teacher for 5 years. I went to school, I studied, I put a lot of work and time and yada yada. I was living with my ex at the time, and basically we went through a big breakup, and I was also in university. I was in a master's program for counseling because I knew I didn't want to teach anymore. So I was like, okay, what else can I do? I know this isn't aligned with me. So I was looking for something outside of me. I got myself in a master's program. Anyways, I was also so busy I didn't have the time to like really tune in and look within. But fast forward to the breakup, I really said, fuck it. Okay, Brittany, it's time for you to put yourself first for the first time in your life. And
Mm.
I dropped out of school and I quit teaching to dive into this full time. But that was really hard. Some of you might think, oh, that's easy, this or that. Like you have a big following, of course. But no, like at the time it wasn't. I didn't have nearly as big of a following as I do now. I didn't know if people were going to be booking consistently with me. Like it was a risk. And 2 years before that, I was crying going to work every day. That's how bad I didn't want to go to work. I
Mm.
asked for help. I said, I know I'm not supposed to be here. Help me figure out where I'm supposed to go. And through pursuing my passion, 2 years later, an opportunity came forward. Then it was up to me to take the action on that opportunity and to actually trust. But you're right. It's not easy. So you said something about like flexing the muscle. So it's like exactly that. And it's starting small. It's like, okay, if you're too afraid to like make these big steps to take these risks, because you have to believe, like you have to genuinely believe when you do these things. So it's like, how can I build my relationship with myself? How can I build my relationship with spirit so that I can learn to trust more? Because the stronger my relationship is with spirit, the more I will trust. Therefore, the easier it will be to take those risks. And I just wanted to talk about your heritage for a moment. You said you're, say it again, you're
A
um,
Cinnabon.
a Cinepoint. I think so. A lot of the messages, first of all, I think that's beautiful and that's so fucking divine. And I'm getting full body chills as I'm saying this. And I'm even looking at the art piece in the background. Does that have anything to, I don't know. It's beautiful. I don't know if it
I've
has
got a lot
anything
of
to,
native things in
I
here.
love it. No, I truly love it. The Aboriginal people hold the wisdom. And this has been channeled messages that I've been getting. They hold the true fucking wisdom. And that was taken away. More was taken away than what's talked about. You know what I mean? It's like they talk about it in schools, like I was all in it. And what's really discouraging is people talk about it because they just have to, because it's it's a checklist. Like I have to talk about it. So this and that. And it's like if they would understand how much wisdom was lost. The world went to shit after colonization happened. Why? Because people so sorry, I get so passionate about this.
Yes, I love it.
I do because they were connected. They understood the importance of being connected to the earth. They understood the importance of community. They respected their elders. They respected the spirits. They understood. And all of that wisdom was gone when they pulled these poor little babies from their family, separating them. They lost all that connection. So not only were they pulled from their family, but through that, because of the language and the this and trying to, it's so sad. But what the messages I've been getting is I've been, we're meant to share it again because this is where the world is going again. We're going back. We're going
Mm.
back. And the Aboriginal people hold the fucking wisdom. And anyways, that needs to come back to surface because that's what's going to save this earth.
Mm. There's just so much energy. I'm just like letting that sit
Ugh.
for a moment. You know, my ancestry has been so present with me, like so deeply present with me, really specifically over these last 6 months. And I've, worked with them and called on them prior because I've been doing this work since like 2015, 16. And when I stepped out of this last relationship and I was just on the floor, one of my really good friends, who is also a tarot reader and an intuitive, was like, your ancestors are so ready to hold you. Like what you have to bring, they are ready to help you piece it all together. So like I even like this morning, like fed my ancestors on my altar. Like I'm very in communion with them. And what is being brought through me
Mm.
from them
Mm.
has so much emotion and so much like those, and I know you get this, like those moments that you're like, I don't know how or why, but I know I have to kind of energy. And today I got clarity in, yes, we are needing to stay connected with the earth. And part of that as well is with our bodies.
Yes.
Oh, girl.
Yes.
So I was,
I
yes,
want to hear this,
go,
but
go,
like
go.
as you were talking about your story, I was feeling so much emotion and I was getting full body chills. And I know you know this, but I just need to say, holy shit, your ancestors, your spirit team is so fucking proud of you. Because when you were talking about the pain and being on the floor, I felt that. And I'm like seeing it in my mind's eye. And I'm like, you fucking fought.
Mm,
You fucking fought. And that wasn't easy. It's not easy, but you chose. And, anyways, I just really wanted to emphasize that for you because I was feeling that like so hard. Like, I'm seeing this beam of light coming down on you. Like, good for you. You are doing God's work and you should be so fucking proud of yourself.
thank you. Ooh, you're the first one who's made me cry on a podcast, so thank
Oh,
you. Yeah, I did. I think I referred to it this morning in my voice notes about what I'm going to share next, as I had like scraped myself like up. Like it was peeling up. And this, so a little context is this last relationship that I was in, when we talk about checking boxes, checked all of my boxes except the one part that was continually shut down, caged, silenced, told to like be put aside, was my connection to my body and my sensuality. And I realized in this, the reflection for me in this union was I was willing to set aside my embodiment of my sensuality and my connection to the earth and to my body for love. And I know that this broke me because it needed to dissolve. Like that is my mission, is actually to help people come back to earth, to help come back to your body. And of course, through the relationship is how that's going to get mirrored, right? So I am actually so grateful that I went through that space and went through that, because now it is so crystal clear to me. This morning, it finally dropped in for me that I was like, oh, I see it. I've been hearing like, you need to do a tour. You need to do a tour. And I'm like, great, a tour of what? Right? Like, and I've been doing motivational speaking, I've been holding events, but it's like, nope, that's not it. That's not it. That's not it. And I just kept like hands open. I'm like, all right, just show me, just show me. And I've actually been putting actual food as offering to my ancestors the last few days. Like it's being, red meat was called this morning. It was like eggs and toast, like specific things. And I just am like, ooh, I know we're getting somewhere because we're physically giving offering now,
chills.
dense level. And this morning I was in tears on voice notes because I was like, I see it. The level of shame that has been placed on us as women. And this is not just women. I know men have shame as well, but I'm going to speak to the women for a moment. we in our tribes were taught to honor your moon, your cycle. We were taught to be with the moon and the cycle, with the earth. We were taught to eat around the seasons. We were taught to free bleed into the earth and to sit with Gaia and be like, give me the codes that I need as I release what I don't need, and you transmute it and it grows and all, like, just so much. And there is so much shame around being witnessed in your sensuality and your sexuality and moving your body and that being negative. And, you know, I find so much pleasure and joy in moving my body and in dancing and in being in that spirit-led movement. And I know you get it. And I know you are same right there with me. And yet, the person I was voice noting with today, who I'm getting ready to step into doing some workshops with, she was in tears talking to me saying, I don't even feel comfortable in my body. I don't feel safe in my body. And I'm like, as women, we have portals between our thighs, y'all. Like, we have portals to other worlds, and we
Yes.
are totally not understanding the power that comes in your sensuality, in your embodiment, in feeling safe in your body. There is a freedom and
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously a connection with the earth
Mm-hmm.
that you don't truly get until you get it. Like, you
Mm-hmm.
can see it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But until you lock it in, there is a code within you that is wanting to come online. So, like, this tour that is coming and that is finally, I've got the vision today. I was like, ooh, this is juicy. I see it. Keep bringing it in. I got it more and more. Is I'm going to be creating these spaces for women to be witnessed, to step into that sensuality. And my whole goal for each of these spaces is going to be, I want that code of freedom to lock in, where you are like, I am safe in my body. I am safe to be sensual and sexual. And that is a beautiful thing. And there is power and potency. And there is nothing wrong with harnessing that. This is actually why we're here, and getting back into the earth and being with the elements. Like, all of it's coming full circle. And I'm just like beaming with excitement to deliver this.
No, I love that you're bringing this up because this has been huge for me on my journey. What you're saying, they've been getting, oh, I'm getting full body chills. They've been working on me with that because everything you're saying is so true. And I'm really stepping into my body in a way I never have before. And the shame, and this goes beyond just this lifetime. I'm realizing with like the work that I've done, like one of my ayahuasca ceremonies, I kid you not, she had me puking the whole time. And all I kept hearing is shame, shame, sexual shame. I was raped. I was raped when I was 19 years old, and I kept that a secret for 10 years.
Oh.
10 years because I was too afraid. I was afraid. I was scared that I was going to be blamed. I was, yeah, afraid of what other people would think of me. I went numb and I blocked it out. And through more of this work that I've been doing, I'm realizing this sexual shame and just shame around my body in general. This, like, I'm breaking a cycle for my lineage.
Yeah.
So a lot of us are carrying so much shame that goes beyond this lifetime. And it
Yes.
is not easy. And you talking about the portal, you like my intuition is my womb space.
Yes.
For the first time I connected with my womb just like a couple weeks ago, the
Mm.
beginning of February, in a way, like without plant medicine, because I've connected with it on plant medicine before, but without plant medicine for the first time. And I'm like, oh my God, she's talking to me. She's talking to me. I hear
Oh,
her. There she is. And it takes a while. Like I've had eating disorders. I've had like I would restrict and binge. I did bodybuilding competitions. I grew up very Catholic, so it's like I needed to look a certain way, but when I looked a certain way, I was ashamed of looking that way because I felt like I was a walking sex symbol. Like everything you're saying, I was not connected with my body and I didn't even realize it though. I didn't even realize it. And dancing has really helped me. I sit in front of the mirror naked. I take oil,
yes.
lather myself in oil, and I'm really connecting. Oh, I'm getting chills. I'm really connecting with my body in a way I never have. And, my period blood now, like, we're just,
Yes,
if this
queen.
makes you, yeah, if this makes you feel uncomfortable, it's like maybe sit with it, not trying to make anyone feel weird, but I'm actually like on my period right now. It's funny we're
Me
talking about it.
too.
Hey, yes, girl. Red moon, right? Does that mean red moon? It was a full
Yeah.
moon today. Anyways, it's like I received this profound message a few months ago, time last year, maybe October, November, it doesn't matter when. And it's like period blood is Earth's nectar. It's
Yeah.
nectar for the earth. People put it in your plants, put it outside. I don't wear tampons anymore. And it's like because of society too, we're made to feel ashamed. Like I remember like when I was in high school, I was like I had my period and it made me feel so gross. I remember like going to the bathroom stall with a pad and I would be slowly opening the pad because I didn't want anyone else to hear that I was
Mm.
opening up a pad because I didn't want them to know I was on my period. Like, what? Why are we made to feel that way? Why are we made to feel that way? My parents never had the sex talk with me. Like, and I was never taught it in school because I went to Catholic school. You know what I'm saying? Like I was so disconnected with my body, my sensuality without even realizing it. And only on this journey have I really stepped into my body in a way I never have before. And when you are able to really connect with your body, you can better tap into your intuition because you need to connect with her first. You need to connect with the womb space first. She talks to you. In my opinion, that's where my intuition is. Like, and it's a feeling in the body. It's not the mind. Get out of the mind, listen to your body. How do you listen to your body? You gotta love your body. And this is where you have to be honest with yourself too. I remember I had this big ego death. I was on a mushroom journey. Like plant medicine has changed my life. I'm a huge advocate for it. Although with that said, I understand it's not for everybody. Okay. So I'm not like don't feel like you need to go down that path because I have other friends that have not touched it and they've so I just want to make that very clear. But for me, I know that I'm meant to be an advocate for it. On a mushroom journey, I realized I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror. And
Mm.
it's making me emotional. I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because I was so disconnected with my body. And I realized, like, oh my gosh, this needs to change. And I started looking at myself in the mirror, forcing myself to, and it felt uncomfortable. It felt weird at first. And I said, I love you. And I want to talk about my friend really quick, Holly Crack. Nourish Me Daily on Instagram. She is an embodiment coach and she like has helped me so much like connect with my body. She is another sister. She's I could sock her praises all day. Um and anyway, she's really helped me with that in connecting with my body. And something she said, if it makes you uncomfortable to look at yourself in the mirror and say, I love you, because if you're not there yet, if it feels weird, you could say, I forget exactly what she said, but something along the lines of, I'm learning to love you. I'm
Mm.
learning to love you. You are worth it. I am going to fight for you. And say that because that might be more believable. Start rewiring
That.
and do it daily. Do it daily.
I love that. You know, and the saying like our body is a temple is so true. And it's like being able to connect and like I love that you're like, and I lather myself like I literally function daily in the knowing and embodiment that my body is a temple. I'm like, whatever jewelry I wear, it's because it feels pleasurable that day. Whatever clothing I wear, it's because it feels pleasurable. You know, the way that I do my skincare, the way that I do my makeup, the way that I like adorn myself in oil and lather, it's like this is all before my feet hit like the floor in the morning. I tune into my body and I'm like, what do you need today? Like, what do you need today? And
Beautiful.
and it's the integration of listening to that, right? And I am just so ready to help women step into this and advocate this because it is like, I had eating disorders too. Like I was in pageantry my whole life. I was the dancer. I was in theater. It was always like the stage, and the stage is my home and I love it. And I battled deeply with food. And that I don't know that that ever truly goes away because I was the tiniest I've ever been in my life after this breakup. And I look at photos and I'm like, wow, like you were actually exactly the size that you've always wanted to be. And at the same time, the way that I got there was not healthy. I was barely eating. My
Mhm.
cycles were so sporadic. And I've actually been battling even just being vulnerable these last 2 months because I've started gaining a little bit more weight. And not like I'm overeating or binging, but it's just from actually eating. My body's like, oh, you're nourishing me. And now I'm filling out in some spaces that were not filled out,
Mhm.
prior. And I'm so proud of myself because I'm working these mindset tools and these embodiment tools around loving the parts of me that are filling out instead
Mhm.
of shaming them to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I have that little role there again that I didn't have, 6 months ago. And I'm witnessing the work that I'm teaching integrated, which is
Oh.
really, really beautiful to be in that space because even just like my somatic movement that I do, like I put on music and I'll just start laying on the ground and I'll just like move my body and I'm like, where does my body need love right now? And it always comes to my womb. It's like my heart and my womb. It's always coming to my womb. And I actually, in this integration that I've been in, like I didn't have a cycle for 44 days.
Wow.
44 days. And I was like, I know I'm not pregnant. I know none of that is a thing. That's not even a possibility. However, I knew my body was trying to tell me something because it was deeply like, we're not even releasing into whatever until you are in it and you get it. And I noticed, I said, you know what? Even without realizing it, I have been trying to stick to zero carbs, zero things that could bloat me, zero things that were whatever. Even when my body or something pleasurable was in front of me, I was refusing to have it
Mm-hmm.
because I was
Mm-hmm.
trying to control something.
Yeah.
3 nights ago, my kids and I ordered food and they wanted pizza. And I was like, you know what, whatever. It's like, we're going to have our little night together. And I allowed myself to eat just what I wanted. I was like, you know what? I'm going to eat whatever the heck I want right now. And all I ate was breadsticks with like spicy honey.
Yes. Yes.
It was everything. It was everything. And I was like, oh, this is just so good. And I let myself just be there and be in it. And the next morning, I started my cycle.
Full body
And
chills.
I was like,
Oh,
oh, bitch, you
sign.
just needed some carbs. You just needed to like
Yes.
eat what you wanted
Oh.
to eat.
Mm.
And it was this deep, like right when I saw the blood, I was like, it's because I let myself eat. Like I actually
Wow.
acknowledged what my body wanted.
I have full body chills. I want to speak to that for a moment, if that's okay. Like, first
Yes,
of all, I'm
yes.
so proud of you for doing that because I get it. Like, I get it, and it's not easy. And you're right, it's something that I'm still working through. It's not something, does it ever go away? And bringing Holly up, like, she's really been through it too, and she's truly gotten herself to a place, a really like beautiful, beautiful place, which is why I felt called to kind of like put her name out there.
Yes.
Truly, like she's a sister and she like I can speak her praises all day, but it's hard. And talking about, oh, like first of all, you're beautiful, and talking about like the little extra role, I get it, but this is pressures of, society, like society's view of what beauty is. Oh, you need to look this way. And as women too, it's like we feel like men as well, but specifically women, we feel like we need to look a certain way to receive love, to get the good job,
Yes.
and we place, I know I placed my self-worth on my image, my body image for almost my whole life. Truly. And I didn't even realize I was doing it. A lot of it was subconscious because of the pressures of society. Like, what is beauty? Why did we make these beauty standards? You know what I'm saying? And it's like when you're able to step outside of it, it's all a part of the matrix. It's all a part of keeping us out of our power. And it takes work and it takes time. Be patient with yourself in the process. Have compassion for yourself. And, I get it. Like being in bodybuilding competitions, like I could look at a plate of food and I could pretty accurately guess the macros and the calories in the meal because I would weigh everything out. I would count everything. So I just kind of know. And when I shifted away from weighing everything out, I'd still count it in my head because I still kind of knew. So it was definitely a process. And I'm better than I've ever been. I'm truly at a place that I've never been before, but I'm still not, do you know what I'm saying? Like I have those
Yes.
days where it's still in my mind, or I have those days where, being on my period right now, I'm like, oh. And I'm short. I'm 5 foot nothing. So I gain 5 pounds, even if it's just being bloated. I see it. You see it
Yes.
more. Not
Yes.
taking away from if you're tall or anything like that, because
Yeah.
body dysmorphia comes in all different shapes and sizes. But it's like I get it. And now what I do, what really helps me when I'm having those days is dancing. I'll dance naked.
Yes.
Naked. Get naked, guys. We all need to get naked.
Yes.
And
Get
I
naked.
and I touch my body and I dance in front of the mirror. And it's something with like associating, like this has really helped me. So maybe this, will help others listening. It's like when you feel in that space, I remind myself, I dance in front of the mirror, which already shifts my perspective a little bit. But like you said before, like I got this very profound message, like, people say your body's a temple, and yes, your body's a temple. People understand that, but it hit me at a deeper layer. I say like there's layers to wisdom. It's like you can understand something, and I'm sure you get this, and then all of a sudden you're like,
Yes.
oh shit, I understand it more now, right? And I had this really deep download. Spirit's like, honey, your body is a temple. You are housing royalty. And I'm not
Yes.
just, yeah, and this is not just me, right? I'm not just saying I'm a royal. We are all of
Oh,
royalty. We are all of God, and your soul chose the body you're in. You chose that. That's fucking amazing. Like, truly love your body. Love it. It works for you. It wants to work for you. Talk to it, him, her, whatever it may be. And it's like, because truly too, it's like we're made so much of water. And the tests that they do, it's like what you speak into water quite literally changes
yes.
the form. I don't know the sciencey words, but you get what I'm
Yes.
saying. It
Yes.
changes the makeup, right? Think about that with yourself. You know what I'm saying? Especially with your body, like, and when you try to look at it in a different way, like I am of God, we are all God. It's like when you take like a blanket, it's like we're all a strand of it. We are God, but God is more than us. Going back to the ego, some people get this God complex, right? It's like, no, you are not, well, you are God, but it's also much bigger than you. You're a piece of it, but you are royal, like you are of royalty. You are
Yes.
just in this body for this experience, and you chose that body. Like, holy shit. You know what I mean? And really sit with that. That's beautiful. And there's a reason you chose the body you chose. So if you find yourself comparing, if you find yourself feeling jealous, really try and sit with that inwardly, because it's trying to tell you something, and this is another thing when people get jealous. Again, this is where honesty is necessary. People don't want to associate with being jealous of others, like, oh, like, because this is another thing in women, like women, we're like, it's easy to be jealous of other women. It's not easy for women to be happy for one another. And it's a sad reality, and a lot of people don't want to admit that, but it's in admitting it where you can, do more of that work, and it's not your fault. It's, again, women are made to, we need to be this, we need to be that. So when you see other women that have those things, it's like naturally, it's like, oh, they're worthy, they have it, why don't I have it? And it's that, that jealousy, that this, that. And it's really becoming so confident in who you are in it, and embracing all of your uniqueness. And that's when you're, really able to see your beauty and your power. And when you get there, then you can genuinely be happy for other women. You can genuinely be happy for their successes. And, that might be like another topic. But, I feel like with this change of earth, it's the rise of the divine feminine, not saying the feminine is more powerful than the masculine, because that's not true. But like you said, we have a portal in our bodies. We are naturally more in tune. The men are the protectors of the physical realm. Both are equally as important, but it is the women that are leading this shift. And we need to step back into our power for it to happen, because we've really been put out of our power. So this goes
Mm.
back to the honesty, really sitting with that ego. Okay, am I jealous of, my friends, or of people that I see online? And if that's the case, okay, what is this trying to tell me about me? Because it's your soul telling you, like, you are just as capable, you are just as beautiful. It might not be in the exact way, you know what I'm saying, but everything is a reflection. Everything is a mirror. What you see in others, it's like, either, let's say you really admire something in somebody else, that's a reflection of that within you. Or if you're jealous, it's also a reflection of something within you. So it's going back to that honesty, and really sitting with that and reflecting.
Mm. So good. So true. And such great tools for everybody listening. So thank you for sharing that. And I think that this is a part of my mission and path with this tour is these tools, right? It's like it's bringing people into women specifically into the remembrance that like sisterhood is sacred. Like witnessing each other is sacred. Being witnessed is sacred. And our bodies, I love that you said we chose these because I say this verbatim all the time. We chose these, what I like to call meat suits, for very specific reasons. And we get to see, you did bodybuilding, like you get it. Like we can make our bodies do incredible things, right? And then we can just let them be what they are without having to push them, right? And the reality is that, as humans, we do have the ability to manipulate in a good way and bad ways our bodies. And it's like our body is a tool, it is a temple. It's constantly telling us things. And as women, we've been pushed out of connecting. We've been pushed out of that power. And that is quite literally, I just want to say it again, like what is going to change this planet and really elevate the frequency even more are the remembrances of this. And it's, what the patriarchy has brought and done, we're breaking every time you connect with your body, every time you lean in. And like, yes, like for me, I felt yesterday, like first day of the moon, I was just like, ooh, I'm puffy. I feel whatever. And I had a podcast yesterday and I was like, you know what? We're in it. We're just loving. We're going to like order the food that we want. We're going to like be in the space. And today it was like, we're going to move. We're going to touch our body. We're going to connect. And, mirrors are portals. So like I have them very specifically placed in my space, but it is such beautiful, deep work for anyone listening. I hope you are taking codes and upgrades and tools from this conversation around like whether you can say I love you to yourself in the mirror or I'm learning to love you. Like I love that so much. Like you're worth it. It's worth learning to love you. Like I love these words. And I just hope you guys are connecting with this on such a deep level who are watching and listening. I want to, lead. I can't believe we've already flown through an hour of our conversation. We're gonna have to have a part two
Ah,
for sure. Because there's so many things I know that we could riff on and talk about. And I love the magic that we've created today. But, kind of closing us out a little bit, I want to just say, I want to pass a permission slip, and I'm sure you probably are similar with this. I want to pass the permission slip of it doesn't matter where you are. You are exactly where you were supposed to be. You have not messed up. You did not miss the mark. You didn't make a decision that put you backwards. Like there is nothing, there is nowhere else and nothing else that could be happening except for where you are right now. And I just want everybody to know, like, no matter what has triggered you in this conversation, what has got you excited in this conversation, like just the fact that you can know that you are connected to your channel, you are connected to your highest self, you are connected to God, you are connected to source and spirit. And that feeling within you that you've traveled in this journey with the two Brittany's in this conversation, that's your compass. And I want you to know that you are not lost, you are not forgotten, you have not fucked it up, you are not crazy. And this has allowed you, hopefully, in this last hour to lean into a deeper knowledge and wisdom of your own experience. And that is where the magic and that is where the gold is. And I want to give you the mic for some other closing things you want to share.
no, I love that. I just wanted to bounce off that for a minute. You are exactly like Brittany was saying, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Even if you are in a challenging space, even if you are like, I don't deserve this, why is this happening? Know that you are there because there is something to learn and it's happening so that you can push forward to what is next. So it goes back to the sitting with yourself, the honesty with yourself, and the reflection. And I just want to say, as a reminder, we are meant to feel our way through life,
Mm.
not think our way through life. So it is like you were saying, connecting with that body again to tune into that. But you are right, exactly where you need to be. And I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me on. It was truly a pleasure to have this conversation with you. I was like an hour already. It definitely goes by really quickly, but if you're listening, you're doing, you're already doing the work in a way. Like you're listening, you're
Yes.
you're here, you're on this path, you're figuring things out. You're right where you need to be, and there's no rush. This is another thing too, is because we're human, we have this need for instant gratification. There's no rush. Spirit's not in a rush. It's the ego, right? It's like we want this now. There's a reason. There's a reason it's not now. Sometimes if you have what you think you want, you might not enjoy it as much. Or as you continue on the path, what you think you want, it often changes. Like what I once thought I wanted, what I once was trying to manifest, I'm like, oh shit, that's not actually in alignment with me. So it's tuning into you, it's getting to know yourself more and giving yourself that time to explore all parts of you. And yeah, I think that's basically, yeah, I think I'll leave it there.
I love that. Well, please let everybody in the audience know how to find you, connect with you, anything that you offer. Let's just let you like pitch Brittany
Thank
Bento for
you.
a moment.
Thank you. No, I appreciate that. So you can find me on the social medias. I'm on TikTok. It's at Brittany Bento. I'm on Instagram. It's at Brittany Bento with the number 3 at the end because my name was already taken. And there's a lot of fake accounts out there of me. So just be mindful. Like, yeah, just be mindful of that. I'm also on YouTube. That's where I'm kind of trying to focus more so is the YouTube. I want to build
Same.
the YouTube a little bit. My name, yeah, just my name again, Brittany Bento. I'm actually going to be starting. I mean, I do have a podcast as well. It's like the same videos that I post on my YouTube though. I kind of pulled away from the pod a little bit, but I'm starting a podcast with 2 other women that's going to be coming out in the spring equinox time, which I'm really excited about. And I do
Woo.
readings. It's like Brittany-readings.ca. I offer tarot, psychic, I call it psychic tarot readings because they're kind of channeled messages with some tarot. And I do energy healing as well. It's quantum energy healing, and I work with the angelic realm. They bring through healing as well. So that's kind of what I do. I
Love.
would, yeah, it would be an honor to have you guys be a part of the community if you so feel called.
So much goodness. Oh, I cannot wait to keep these conversations going. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. For those of you who are new to the channel, please like, follow, comment, share. We would love to hear also anything that comes up for you. Please drop it in the comments. We do have eyes on there. All of Brittany's socials and links will also be linked into the description. So I will see y'all next Monday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard. Thank you for being a part of the Brittany Renee experience.
Bye.